Busy days, a busy Monday for Chelsea. Remember what I've been telling you here in the recent days. If you follow all the videos, if you follow all my news, I told you. I know that some football fans can be impatient. You want Xavi Simons immediately. Someone told you it's already done. Calma. My feeling is Xavi Simons to Chelsea will happen, but remember what I told you, it was start of last week. Selling players will be the next step. Then Xavi Simons and Garnacho are two priorities for Chelsea, and Chelsea are into it. Because this Monday was probably one of the busiest ever seen in terms of outgoings for Chelsea. Let's recap all the news of the day. Exclusive story. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall leaves Chelsea and joins Everton. Permanent transfer. The transfer fee will be £25 million plus £3-4 million in add-ons. So total package worth around £29 million, long-term contract for the player, authorized to travel for medical and contract signing. So Dewsbury-Hall, midfielder, leaves Chelsea and goes to Everton. Then midfield talks again. Another story. Lesley Ugochukwu, the French midfielder, leaves Chelsea and goes to Burnley. Permanent transfer also in this case. Transfer fee around £20 million, slightly in excess of this. I will be more clear in the next days. But Lesley Ugochukwu leaves Chelsea. Permanent transfer too. And trust me guys, when it's permanent transfer and it's not a loan with option, a straight loan or these kind of things, it's a big difference. Obviously, Chelsea are getting important money. Many players are getting sold on permanent transfer, and that's going to be very important. So, Ugochukwu to Burnley. Armando Broja to Burnley, deal done. Then Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall to Everton, £29 million. And then Carney Chukwuemeka getting closer to Dortmund. This deal could be done any moment, because another exclusive story from the morning, talks have accelerated today between Chelsea and Dortmund. Chelsea sent again a clear message to Dortmund, forget about a loan. Dortmund have been pushing for a loan the whole month of July, but Chelsea clearly told permanent or nothing. Chelsea spoke about Carney with Leipzig, but the player wants to go and play for Borussia Dortmund. Wants to give priority to Borussia Dortmund. He was happy there on loan, and so now the agreement for Carney to Borussia Dortmund is getting closer between Chelsea and BVB. Agreement with the player already done, personal terms agreed, and so now Carney, Dewsbury-Hall, Armando Broja, Lesley Ugochukwu, João Felix is already gone. Then let me remind you all the rest, because Chelsea are working also to Marquinhos to Sunderland, also is another deal agreed, straight loan in that case. But then Sterling will go, Nico Jackson can go, Nkunku will go, so Tyreke George can go on permanent transfer. Big movements, and this means that Chelsea will be soon ready to attack for new signings. Calma, relax, because the negotiations with Leipzig continue. For Xavi Simons, the player has been very clear with Leipzig in the recent days, as I told you. He wants to go to Chelsea, but obviously selling all these players is helping Chelsea to generate money, to generate income, to do an important job. There will be more to do, because then there are also the defenders, Disasi and more. So Chelsea will be working on more outgoings, but Chelsea are doing a very good job on that, and now focusing soon on closing Xavi Simons, already very advanced, and then Alejandro Garnacho, who is patiently waiting for Chelsea football clubs. Some clubs are calling around Europe, Germany, Italy, Saudi. Garnacho wants to go to Chelsea. He's waiting for Chelsea. So that's the point. We will be following all the developments on this one, guys, but remember that these sales will be important, obviously, for Chelsea to generate some space, generate some money, and advance on
Chelsea. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. We told you earlier on in the window that Fulham were having a look at him, but it looks like now Everton are in the driving seat, firmly in the driving seat, because Everton have agreed a deal with Chelsea worth £29 million, including performance-related add-ons. We think the initial fee is around £25 million. So that one looks like it's edging closer. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall could be on his way to Everton. And then there's a couple of players who could be going from Chelsea to Burnley. First of all, Armando Broja. He is another player who could be on his way out from Stamford Bridge. Burnley remain in talks with Chelsea over the signing of Armando Broja. There's a broad agreement, we're told, on many aspects of that deal, but discussions are centering right now on the structure of how that fee is going to be paid. There is, though, significantly a willingness from the player, from both clubs, to strike an agreement. And the reason we know that is because personal terms on a 5-year contract, they're not expected to be a problem for Armando Broja. The other player who is much closer to joining Burnley is Lesley Ugochukwu, the midfielder. Now, that deal has been agreed on a permanent basis. We think that he's agreed a 5-year contract in principle with Burnley, and a medical is due in the next 24 to 48 hours. So that one looks like it could be happening sooner rather than later. So 2 players, you'd think Broja and Ugochukwu, on their way to Burnley from Chelsea. A number of other players could be departing Chelsea as well. Mark Guiu, we spoke about him last week, on his way to Sunderland. He was supposed to fly in for a medical over the weekend. That flight got postponed, and we thought, is that deal in danger? Our colleague up in the northeast, Keith Downey, assures us no problem at all. That deal is still set to go ahead, so he should be joining Sunderland. And they're also listening to offers for Raheem Sterling, who of course was on loan at Arsenal last season. Didn't really work out for him. Come back to Chelsea. He's entered the final 2 years of his contract. Simply not in the plans for Enzo Maresca. And another player who's not in the plans for Enzo Maresca is Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. So they're listening to offers for him as well. So you can see, even though we are always talking about Chelsea spending so much money during these transfer windows, they are fantastic, it seems, at selling as well.
Do they have to get rid of all those players?
I mean, financially, it would help. I don't think it's compulsory that they do, but I think it's more for the makeup of the squad. I don't think Enzo Maresca wants to be in a situation where he's got 25 players in a first-team squad and another 20 players who could be in a first-team squad training separately from the first team because he feels that they're not part of the plans. So it's rather get them out, get the money in, but really release the squad space as well so that he can work with the players that he wants to.
Yeah. Ben Chilwell's still there as well on a significant contract as well. At the end of last season, the start of last season, Enzo Maresca was in a situation where you had pretty much 2 squads. You had the so-called bomb squad, and actually players like Trevor Chalobah have ended up coming back into the first team. He's been really impressive what he's done. But Chelsea want to be in a situation whereby they're not having all these players who are no longer in the first team plans but still on the books. So financially, yes, they want to get these players in, but also, as Dharma said, logistically, you don't want to be having that many players. Graham Potter was there at one point and there were players sitting on the dressing room floor because there weren't enough seats. Chelsea aren't quite in that situation, but they do need to balance the books to fit within what UEFA want them to do. And clearly from a PSR point of view, but as Dharma said, they've sold so well. Some of the sales they've made over the course of the last few years means they're in no danger when it comes to any Premier League sanctions.
João Felix, didn't he? He went for nearly 50 million.
Yeah.
They do sell well.
Yeah. About Chelsea's outgoings. Well, we've got a development. Dharmesh.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, weren't we, earlier, as one of the players that Chelsea may listen and consider offers for. Well, Sky Germany are just saying this afternoon that Borussia Dortmund are in negotiations now with Chelsea over the permanent transfer of Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. He spent last season on loan at Dortmund, and as we mentioned, Chelsea are looking to get some money from him, so maybe they can fund some of their other targets in this transfer window. He's still got 3 years left on his contract at Chelsea, which by Chelsea standards is quite a short amount of time given the length of contracts that they have. But this could be a good move for all parties involved here. Dewsbury-Hall, who's not going to get a look in at Chelsea, probably get first-team football at Borussia Dortmund, and Chelsea will get some money, you would think, for a player that no longer figures in the plans under Enzo Maresca.
I'm glad you brought up contract length, because does that complicate things for Chelsea when they've got these massive 7-8 year contracts?
I think it works both ways, because the way they've done it is incentivised contracts. So we heard that Cole Palmer had signed a really long contract when he joined Chelsea, and then within a year or two of him being at Chelsea, he'd signed another bumper-long contract, but that was to do with the fact that he was being rewarded for his performances. So maybe the contract was extended by 1 further year, so it was now 34 years long. But in all seriousness, it was because it was reflective of his performances. And so they said, when he joined, you're going to be on this much money now, which is good money, but if you perform and reach these targets, then we will reevaluate and you'll get paid more money, which is what they've done. And so that it incentivises the Chelsea players, even if they're on long-term contracts, to get better terms on those contracts. So it can work one of 2 ways, but they'll always have a contract where when it comes to selling these players, Chelsea will probably still be able to get money because of the length of contract they've got left.
And that's why, for instance, you take a player like Nicholas Jackson, who may want to move in this transfer window. He's still got, I think, 6 or 7 years left in his contract. But because they're on a base salary which is so low compared to what they could potentially get elsewhere, if he's not playing, he'll be on, for football terms, a relatively low contract at that point. So it gives you an incentive to want to move to another club to get a better offer elsewhere. So if you are sitting on the bench and you're going to go elsewhere, you'll get better money. There's no value in these players sitting on their contracts because they simply could get much more money elsewhere.
Gotcha. Let's stay with Chelsea. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, is he off?
Yes, it looks like Everton have agreed a deal to sign him, and at the same
Welcome back to Sports Lab, your daily transfer briefing powered by the latest from Sky Sports sources across Europe. Here's the latest on Chukwuemeka and Broja as Chelsea's summer window heats up. Dortmund negotiating with Chelsea over Chukwuemeka. Reported by Sky in Germany. Borussia Dortmund are in negotiations with Chelsea over the permanent transfer of Kiernan Chukwuemeka. The attacking midfielder spent the second half of last season on loan at Dortmund and is expected to leave Stamford Bridge. Chukwuemeka, 21, still has 3 years left on his Chelsea contract. Burnley and Chelsea reach broad agreement over Broja. Burnley and Chelsea have a broad agreement on many aspects of a deal for Armando Broja. Talks are ongoing regarding the final structure of the move for the 23-year-old striker to join the newly promoted Premier League side. Personal terms on a 5-year contract are not expected to be an issue. That's it from this edition of Sports Lab. With Dortmund pushing for Chukwuemeka and Burnley closing in on Broja, Chelsea's outgoing business is moving fast. Stay tuned as the deals progress.